crispy and crunchy on the outside, but also with an extra sort of elastic bite to it. It's a Vietnamese spring roll stuffed with wood ear mushrooms, carrot, fatty minced pork, and a little bit of garlic and some serious seasoning. My recipe for a chag yo, Vietnamese spring rolls. Welcome back to Wok Wednesdays. I'm Jeremy from School of Wok, and I can't wait to show you how to make these spring rolls. Some people might think it's a difficult thing to make, but I'm going to show you how to break it down and do it step by step. Here's how. First thing I'm going to chop is a little bit of garlic. I've got some mung bean vermicelli here, which has just been soaked in hot water. You just want to roughly chop this. That can go in along with my garlic. Next up, this slightly weird looking ingredient. Now that is called a wood ear fungus or wood ear mushroom. Now these come dried. You can soak it in hot water. Best, I'm going to roll that up and finely chop that. Now if you can't find this, usually we buy it in Asian supermarkets, but you could just swap it out with any type of dried mushroom. Some grated carrot here, that can go straight in. Adds a bit of crunch, some nice colour, and then some good fatty pork mince to bind that whole mix together. Got about a tablespoon of fish sauce here, and then a good pinch of salt, sugar, and white pepper. Give that a good mix through. You get different types of spring rolls from all different countries. With these rice flour Vietnamese summer roll pastries or spring roll pastries, they can be quite sticky, easy to break. The ideal is to use raw filling so that there's no sort of air pockets inside. We're going to fry them first, and then we're going to double fry so that they get super crispy and they don't stick to each other in the end. What you want is a bowl of hot water, and you're going to swivel your pastry around the water, and then you can place that on your board. Over time, over the next sort of minute or so, that pastry is going to soak up more and more of that water, and in that time we can start to sort of place your filling in the right place. And you want sort of roughly a couple of tablespoons worth of filling in a sort of cylindrical shape. Now once you've got that sort of nice, sort of slight tackiness of the dough, that's when you want to start rolling. You roll as tight as possible, roll and tighten to the middle, and then bring your sides in as neatly as possible. Stick those the same again. And then just continue rolling. Roll, tighten, try and get as much of that air out as possible. And there you have a Vietnamese spring roll ready to fry. So I've got my spring rolls all made up. Keep those on a tray. I'm just going to make up a quick nok cham, some lime juice, fish sauce, a bit of palm sugar. You're going for a nice balance of sweet, sour, salty, and then finely chopped up garlic and bird's eye chili. So when you're cooking these spring rolls, there's a certain amount of technique to deep frying them. As I said, we're going to double fry these spring rolls, mainly because if you just put all of them into sort of one hot wok full of oil, they will stick together. I would recommend not cooking more than, say, 3 or 4 at the same time. Have your heat on a medium heat, and you see when I put your chopsticks on, they do need to be fizzing up straight away, which says it's around 170 to 180 degrees C. At that point, I'd recommend turning your heat down for this first fry so that it kind of bubbles rather than over fizzes. And what that will do is it will create a nice seal around the outside of the pastry before I then put in the next. Try and keep them away from each other for this first fry as much as possible. So you can see any sort of big bubbles like that, you want to just pop at that point where it bubbles up. And that immediate seal then helps you out for when you're adding more spring rolls to the wok. Now with this first fry, what we're doing is that sort of getting rid of the stickiness primarily, and secondly, on this low heat, just cooking it through so all that meat is pretty much fully cooked. You're talking about 3 to 4 minutes of frying before you then remove those, and then continue with this first fry of all of your spring rolls. Take those guys out, they've had their first fry, and I'm going to place those on a tray, a grill underneath, just so that any oil can really sort of drip down and it's not sitting in oil. So these are now, they've had their first fry and they're very much not sticking together, which is great news. On a slightly high heat, so I'm on a medium to high heat now for the second fry, and it should only really take about a minute to get super crispy. And they'll brown slightly around the edges. I'm getting quite a lot of bubbling up from probably a couple of holes that I poked a little bit too much, but that's okay. That will simmer down in a second. And then remove those spring rolls from the fryer so that they don't overcook. But it is rice paper, as I say, so it's not going to go sort of golden brown. You've just got a nice sort of crispy edge, and you can hear that edge from just tapping it. You can hear that sort of crispiness around the edge, but the sort of inside of the pastry is still quite sort of, but a little bit more moist. And that's what creates that sort of bounciness, that bite to this spring roll pastry. There's something so moreish about Vietnamese spring rolls, quite dangerous actually, but maybe worth, making this on batch. And you could actually freeze them at that point and cook them from frozen. That is delicious. What's the most moreish thing you guys like to cook at home? Let us know in the comments below. Keep eating, keep crunching. We'll see you next week.